everybody. Welcome to the first full episode of the BizMagic podcast, where I share my expertise and solopreneur journey to help business owners find the magic in their businesses by being more productive, focused, and successful. I'm Patty Meyer, the founder of BizMagic, where I help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small business owners clear their plates so they can get back to doing what they love, running their businesses. I am officially kicking off the new podcast here today, focusing on something I think is pretty important for all of us business owners. My 5 tips on how to keep clutter on your computer at bay while you work. But what if you're convinced that you have it all figured out when it comes to keeping your computer tidy and staying on track? Awesome. You may still learn a thing or two here, or maybe you can take a look at what I'm offering and then add your tips in the comments. For everyone else, ready to dive in? Don't worry, I'll try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. Now, we all know how easy it is to get pulled into working away day and night, and suddenly we stop and take a look at our computer's desktop and we're like, what happened? You realize you have 15 browser windows open, a desktop full of files that really should have been filed when you first downloaded them. Our calendars are open, our email is open, and any other possible window we can conceive of, and maybe even that dreaded pinwheel of death. There's a better way. And I'm here to show you that way, or at least my way of keeping my computer clean and tidy. So first and foremost, just so you know, any tools that I share in my 5 tips, I'll put links for in the description of this video. So you can find things that way. But I'll also, in future podcasts, go deeper into these individual tools so you can learn how to use them if you don't want to do them right now. So first, we're going to talk about your internet browser. Now, I use Chrome internet browser. You can use whatever you want, but all of them offer the same function, which is to put tabs in one single window. But not everybody uses that. Some people still put multiple windows open at the same time, and that really can get your computer cluttered and slowing down. So use the feature that you are given in your web browser that shows individual tabs. But that doesn't stop the problem completely, right? So you start using one window for your browser, but you can still have tons of tabs open. When you do that, you can still slow down your computer because it's still trying to process all of those different websites and any videos that are on them and any images that are on them and any ads that are going. You get the point. So I recommend you use a Chrome extension called Toby. Toby. It's really awesome because essentially what it does is it takes all of the tabs that are open in one browser and you can save them as one session. So if you're working on a project and it's time for you to move on to the next thing, you can really easily just save it for next time. You can name it and all sorts of stuff like that, and then just pull everything back up exactly where you left off when you want to use it again. And so that helps because oftentimes, especially as entrepreneurs, we're doing all of these things and then all of a sudden a client calls or something happens and we have to switch gears right away, but we have all of this stuff open and we don't want to lose our place. So we just add on more and more and more. So that's a really great and easy way. Save it, close it down, and start a new browser. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is when you're downloading files onto your computer. Ideally, you have places to keep everything. You organize it as you download it. You know what folder everything goes in, and there are folders inside folders inside folders. That's ideal. The reality is that when we're downloading things and we're in the middle of our workday, we just download them to wherever, and oftentimes that ends up on our desktop. So that can get a little cluttered, and that actually slows down your computer as well. But I've seen desktops that have so much happening on them that there are literally just files on top of files. So you have to like pull them off of each other to see what's underneath them all. You can't function that way. And so that's something that happens. We're in the middle of our day and all of this stuff is happening, and we just download everything to wherever it is. So not only is our computer cluttered, but we also can't find anything. And that's a big deal because that takes even more time. It takes more time to look for what you're trying to find than it does to organize it as you download it. But If it's too much to do that, then at the very least, have one folder that everything gets downloaded in. That by default typically is a downloads folder on any type of computer that you're using. But sometimes defaults get changed, and so who knows what's happening now. And if it's easiest for you to put that downloads folder on your desktop, then do that. But make sure you put it in one place. And that way you always know where to go to find everything that you downloaded, but you also can easily go back at the end of the day or once a week and file it all away to where it should be. And it also keeps your desktop from being a mess, because when that's all cluttered and everything is everywhere, it's easier for you to get distracted. It's easier for you to go off track and be overwhelmed. But if everything is clean and tidy on your desktop, you're less overwhelmed and you're more able to stay focused and on task. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to tell you about is a really cool tool that I use, and I've mentioned it in some of my other resources, and it's called Shift. So if you're like any entrepreneur or small business owner, you probably have multiple email accounts. Usually they're in Gmail. We have like 4 or 5 of them. And you have a calendar that's associated with each email account, and you have a Google Drive account that's associated with each email account. So now you have 4 or 5 calendars, 4 or 5 email addresses, 4 or 5 places that you're storing documents online. Where are they all? And if you keep all of these tabs or windows open at once trying to keep up with all these emails, it can get really confusing really quickly. So I use something called Shift, and as you can see, what that does is it separates the emails, but it puts them all in one window and it's nice and clean. So whichever account you're in any given moment, you can go right up to the top right there and click on the calendar or the Google Drive. So you can easily get whatever you're looking for right there in one window without having all of this stuff open and getting confused and getting lost. And you can just toggle through your different emails. It's super easy. So I use this every single day. All of my email goes through Shift. I never have to worry about which email account to go to because I can just go down the line. And this is really helpful for me too, since I work with multiple clients that sometimes I manage their emails. I can put their email in there as well. So I don't have to keep opening and closing their emails. If I'm working on 2 or 3 clients' emails that day, I can still have them all in Shift if I want to do it that way. So it's really amazing and I love it. Okay, so this next one may seem pretty straightforward and basic, but sometimes we need to be reminded. Close the windows and programs when you're done with them. I easily use about 6, 7, 8 programs a day. I have Microsoft Word, I have Excel, I have Photoshop, I have video editing software, I have Zoom for online meetings. All of this stuff I use all the time, but I don't use it all at the same time because my computer would freak out and blow up, right? So what happens though is when we switch gears, kind of like I was talking about earlier, between these different projects, we can get lost in it all and kind of get overwhelmed and just leave all these windows open. And that's your computer processing all of that. So not only is your computer going to slow down, but you have all of this stuff open all the time and you don't know where anything is or what you're doing, but you're not using half of them because you used it first thing this morning. Just close it. If you're done with it, close it. If you're not sure if you're going to use it in a little while, but you're not going to use it right now, save it and close it. There's no need to keep everything open at once. Again, it seems pretty straightforward, but I think we need this reminder sometimes. I know I do. Last but not least is a pretty simple and basic little tip that I use for myself on a regular basis. Now, I'm a little OCD when it comes to my organization, so this may be laughable to people, but what I recommend you do is strategically line up the windows on your desktop when you start your day. So for example, I always have Shift open and I always have an internet browser open. So I'll put my Shift all the way at the end and then I'll put the internet browser right next to it. And then I'll put another window next to that so that it's sort of a cascade look and I can easily swap between the different ones that are open and see what's there. It makes it easy to move through them without having them all over the place and a window pulled down over here and one over there, and it gets a little confusing. Another thing that if you're a Mac user, you may or may not know about are hot corners. So if you go into your system preferences in your computer, you can find under screensaver hot corners. And what that does is when you move your mouse to any corner of your screen, you can have it do something. So for example, when you set it up to move your mouse into a certain corner, you can have it so that it sort of zooms out and you see all of your windows that are open at once. And then you can just click on the one you want to use and it'll go back to normal and that'll be in front of you. So that's a really big deal, because if you don't have the time or the patience like me to sit there and line up all your desktop windows, but you have a Mac, that's a really great way to just quickly go and see what you have open and choose that one. And that's it. So those are my 5 tips for keeping the clutter down while you're working in the middle of your day. Now, I'll definitely have a future episode about how to keep your computer clean overall and organized, but this is just sort of throughout your workday to keep it so that you're moving smoothly without getting frustrated and all of that. And again, I'll have podcasts in the future that will go a little more in depth about Toby and about shifts, but I do have some videos on my website that shows each of those a little more in depth as well. So now I want to hear from you. Please share in the comments what your favorite tips are for staying organized through your workday, or what you struggle with the most in staying organized. Then, if you have any questions that you would like to see me discuss in future episodes of the podcast, please head over to bizmagic.co/podcast and click Ask a Question. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can also do that in the same place, bizmagic.co/podcast, and click on Be a Guest. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Then join me next time when I share an interview with Pamela Lorenz, the Brick Wall Coach, where we talked about how she helps entrepreneurs build focused plans for success by setting goals with outlines to reach them. You don't want to miss that. Till then, keep the magic in your biz.